My name is Steve Rao, and I'm a Senior Vice President at Visant.
Hi, and I'm Jim Jorgensen, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Visant.
Rare is the quality where one gives so freely of their time to assist others in the pursuit of personal and professional excellence. Every profession seems to have its connectors and its leader of leaders. And in pharmacy, we have David Zilz, who we know as DZ. Throughout DZ's career, and even in the past 25 years in his retirement, he's been widely admired across the pharmacy profession for his pursuit of personal and professional excellence. His ability to connect people with each other, with innovative ideas, and his tireless commitment to coaching and mentoring colleagues and the next generation of pharmacy leaders. His style is humble. He doesn't care for getting the credit. His passion is boundless, and so is his vision and his eye towards the future. He's a man of many achievements, a family man of deep faith, and a friend to many in pharmacy and in the healthcare profession. He's a consummate gentleman. He serves tirelessly in the pursuit of helping others. And his influence in mentoring and guiding, befriending, and supporting others at all levels over the past 50 years is unparalleled. Which is why at Visant, we decided to develop this video series tribute to DZ and the work he's done to pave the way for pharmacy leaders in our great profession, so that his impact, his wisdom, his many lessons can be shared with others for many years to come. There's two key elements of our tribute to DZ. The first is this video, the DZ Legacy video, where pharmacy leaders from 6 decades share their reflections about the importance of DZ and how he's impacted their lives. And second, we've developed the Connecting with DZ video series, which is a culmination of short videos where DZ shares his views on a variety of topics, so stories and life lessons for current and future generations. So thank you very much for taking the time to view these videos. We hope you find them to be inspiring as well as entertaining.
You know, I've been really fortunate in my career to be able to work with and got to know some of the real leaders and pioneers in our profession like DZ. And I think that the best encapsulation of what that's meant to me came out of a letter from Sir Isaac Newton to his colleague Robert Hooke in 1676, describing his success. And he said that if he was able to see just a little further, it was by standing on the shoulders of giants. And you know, I realize not everyone's had this opportunity personally, so it's a real pleasure for me to be able to contribute to this project to make sure that the next generation of pharmacy leaders is introduced to and really knows who these giants in pharmacy like DZ are that came before them and worked so hard to create all the wonderful practice opportunities we enjoy today. So we hope you all really enjoy this production.
DZ is our Yoda of the Wisconsin Pharmacy and Residency Program, the Jedi Master who's all-wise and influential and is sought out by others in making career or life decisions.
Dave Zilz is one of those remarkable human dynamos with boundless energy, particularly when he can ask penetrating questions and give sound advice.
DZ is a kind and energetic man with unparalleled insight, vision, and ways of thinking.
DZ is like the Willy Wonka of pharmacy. He's imaginative, creative, and definitely a child at heart.
To describe DZ in a sentence or less is difficult, but he's just generally intrigued by everything that you do. He's interested in who you are and your life story. And it doesn't matter if you have a lot of successes, what your status is, what your class, or even what your profession is. He wants to learn about it all. And it never really stopped with pharmacy. It was religion, it was science, it was data, it was logging, it was cattle, it was just everything that you told him he wanted to learn more about.
I don't think you can describe Dave in one sentence. One minute he's telling a story about hanging out with a bunch of his logging buddies while they're telling him about which county jail has the best food, and the next minute we're talking about next generation sequencing and the impact it's going to have on population health in the next 10 years. Dave's just too complex. You need one sentence. Dave's a farm boy from Wisconsin who's probably made more of an impact on pharmacy than any other living human.
Dave and I have known each other for over 50 years. We have a common rural Midwest background, and we know where and have been to places like Wapaka, Poigan, Poisippi, Duck Inn. He has been, in turn, my boss, advocate, sponsor, colleague, co-author, and alter ego. But always, he has been my role model and trusted friend. And as Jim Reinhardt would say, he has changed my DNA.
I would say that for a lot of us, it's kind of hard to say where our personal and professional lives end and begin. They overlap a lot, but I can tell you that every time I'm faced with a big decision or a challenge, I always ask myself, what would DZ do? And then I call him up and we talk about it, and he always is helpful. What has DZ meant to the profession of pharmacy? I'm pretty sure DZ was one of the first clinical pharmacists, maybe ever. And I guess I needn't say more.
So what has DZ meant to me personally and professionally? Well, professionally, I think he's helped make generations of UW clinical pharmacy residents feel as important as their HSPAL or admin counterparts. Whether he knew it or not, there are lots of times where they felt less than because of the history that we have with administrative training and the focus that we put on it. But every year when I was program director, he found a resident that he said, you know what, you're going to be mine and Mary Ann's personal pharmacist. And that made them feel essential and valued. He's done probably more to bridge the gap between those two groups and help both sides understand the weight of their value than I think many of us will ever know. He showed how treating everyone as valuable can make a difference, and that's kind of influence he's always had. Personally, he's that wise sage to me, someone who always offers wisdom and perspective. He knows what really matters in life and brings that to any interaction we have. He reminds me in the midst of everything else that might be going on that serves a larger purpose that we can't always see in the midst of it. And I think that clarity and wisdom has always helped me make better decisions and live a more fulfilled and well-rounded life.
He's one of those leaders that has always had my best interest at heart. Whenever we've had conversations or talked, I always felt like DZ actually listened and actually wanted to make sure that I was going down the right direction for my career and my goals overall in my life. I think he was able to demonstrate that through his selfless leadership and the willingness to always be there and help those around him. I often think of DZ as one of those people who have bent over backwards to make sure you are doing the right thing for yourself. And he'd always ask questions that really made me think in a way different from what I'm used to. And that was one of the things I always liked about DZ was the challenge and just thinking differently. And he was really good at making me do that. And I've just loved the conversations that I had with him.
My favorite DZ mentoring moment was when we got to join him on the farm and forestry rotation experience with the rest of my class in residency. We got to spend the day with him up in northern Wisconsin, and he was very proud to show us around his town, but also to show us how another industry works and how we can tie that to our pharmacy practice. Believe it or not, I really did learn a lot on that short experience. And it really created a lot of cool memories that we'll always reflect on as a group, and I will always reflect on individually.
One of my favorite DZ stories is when I was a PGY2 infectious diseases resident. I was sitting on resident row, working in my office, working on antimicrobial stewardship. DZ came to visit up and down the row like he always did, and he walked into my office and sat down next to me and asked what I was doing. I had just paged a doctor about a recommendation for a patient, so I was waiting for that page back. But I started talking to him about my day and what antimicrobial stewardship was, and he was just so interested and curious and listened so intently. And then that doctor happened to call me back while he was sitting there. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I have to answer this call. And he was like, no, answer the call. I answered the phone call from the physician and went through a pretty standard recommendation, recommending to stop antibiotics or something like that. And when I hung up the phone, DZ looked at me and was just like, wow, that was amazing. And then we proceeded to talk about how the profession of pharmacy has grown, how pharmacists can communicate with different providers and the different kinds of interactions we have, how meaningful what we can do for patient care. And he just sat there and listened and learned about what we were doing and was so proud of us. And it was honestly really meaningful to me to be able to show him where the profession's gone. And that is probably one of my favorite DZ stories.
I've known David since the mid-70s, that is 1970. And we have grown old together, or at least we've aged like a good wine. I have been most impressed with my good friend about the inquisitiveness and the desire to continue to learn throughout his career as well as through his retirement. That energy for learning has been something that has been very, very impressive to me. I'll tell you a story about a time that he and I and Harlan Henry and I think it might have been Harlan Lee went to McGee, Arkansas to do some duck hunting. And David had never seen a cotton gin, nor had he ever seen a rice dryer. So as we finished hunting and were driving by this rice dryer, he said, "Hey, you think we could take a look at that?" And sure. So we drove in, and Harlan and I grew up in rice country, and it's kind of old hat to us, but we got in, and the manager gave us a tour. We got on the conveyor belt, went to the top of the dryer, which is probably 10 or 15 stories high. And I told David, I said, now the trick is not so much getting up, but getting down. Luckily we did get down and continued our life. There are many other stories that I can tell, but I would be afraid that they might be shared with the inappropriate audiences. So I'll just say that David Zilz represents the ultimate professional. He represents a good Christian background that has his priorities correct in that he cares about his family, he cares about his friends, and he cares very much about the profession of pharmacy. He's given to the profession, he's given to mentoring many professional leaders around the country, and that is something that he should be very proud. I think that as we continue to age, we become thankful for the people that we've known in our professional lives and then in our private lives as well. The nice thing about my relationship with David Zilz is that it crosses over both, in that I have lived through some of his professional challenges with him. I've been there as he and Mary Ann deal with challenges of aging, as well as the loss of their son-in-law, who was a terrific young man. He has a love for the outdoors. He has a love for learning. He has a love for the natural resources of this country. And having said that, one of the natural resources that I'm grateful for is David Zilz. So David, when you get this, know that as you know, I like to kid a lot, but I'm not kidding when I say it's been a very real privilege to know you, to be able to call you my friend. And I hope that we're able to do that for many, many years to come. And I also hope that we continue to have some impact on the profession and some impact on the younger leaders that we continue to work with. God bless you. God bless Mary Ann and Kristen and all of your family. And I look forward to many, many more conversations in the future. Thank you so much.
You know, if I revisit some of the things that DZ has imparted on me throughout my education and my professional career, one of the things that comes to the top of my mind is really DZ's concept about creating an integrated life plan. He first introduced this concept in one of our residency class chats with DZ, you know, discussing all the different domains of an integrated life planning, exactly what that meant. What do you want for your career, finances, relationships? How are you going to use your discretionary time? What role does health play in your life? And what do you want your legacy to be? It was one of those defining moments where you knew in the moment, this is going to be important. This is something I want to remember. And I've revisited that from time to time throughout my education and my career. But at that time in my life, you know, I was mainly one-dimensional, purely focused on my education and training and development. I feel is even more important and resonates with me even more as I'm in my professional career, as I'm faced with competing priorities, you know, almost daily. It helps me stay rooted in what is important to me, and when these conflicts arise, what do my core values look like, and how am I going to use those thoughts about those 6 domains to make my selection and continue to advance the professional pharmacy, my career and my learning, and also incorporate work-life balance. You know, a lot of times, especially right now, there's talk about burnout, developing coping skills, resilience. I used to think burnout was only for those who maybe weren't able to develop coping skills or resilience. But we know that's not true. I truly believe that if you don't have a life plan and you don't decide in advance how you're going to handle competing priorities, then you are liable to burnout. So I would highly suggest sharing this, and I share with all my students and interns. You know, DZ and Bob Weber are published in the April 2015 version of Hospital Pharmacy. It can be accessed PubMed on Google, but it's a great discussion and a resource on how to start your integrated life plan. So thank you, DZ, for that. As a matter of fact, even within the last 6 months, I asked DZ for a video conference, and we walked through, you know, the different domains again, and I asked him a couple questions with a fresh perspective, because I think it's just good to revisit and know where you stand. So thank you, DZ, for all your contributions. I think that you mean way more to so many people than you can even possibly imagine. So thank you, DZ. I think you have done more for the professional pharmacy, for pharmacy students, and for pharmacy professionals than you will ever realize. Thank you personally for all that you've done for me and all of the advice that you've given, or maybe just allowed me to observe that you didn't know that you were imparting. And thank you on behalf of every learner out there. We really appreciate you.
I actually have 2. First is that no one ever completes or accomplishes as much as they think they can in a day or even in a year. But if you stay disciplined, stay focused, and stay resilient, you'll always accomplish more in 5 years than you ever thought possible. And the other piece of advice is it's better to wear out running than to rust out sitting. And I think DZ sure teaches that by example.
Well, I absolutely believe that Dave has positively impacted and advanced the profession of pharmacy in many ways, including pharmacy practice, academia and training, leadership development, and of course some of his early work with establishing group purchasing organizations. When I think of people that have excelled in their profession, there are few people that ever rise to the status of icon. Well, simply stated, I think Dave is an icon within the profession of pharmacy. He is widely admired and has great influence.
I would say there are three aspects of DZ's wisdom that I'll always appreciate and cherish. One is the life plan. Having a life plan, being deliberate about it, thinking about the different aspects of your life, and how to plan in each specific area. Second, I would say it's thinking outside the box, beyond pharmacy, beyond health systems, thinking about macroeconomics and the broader environment that impact our businesses and our personal lives. And third, for hosting us at Iola for some of those summer retreats. I'll always cherish the time with DZ, Marianne, and our buddies, and thinking about the great times we had, talking about pharmacy and just about everything else.
DZ gives really thoughtful and heartfelt advice, and he's been so supportive whenever I've been trying to figure out the next steps in my career. Both jobs that I've gotten since leaving Wisconsin have actually been with his help. But I think what sticks with me most personally is he has this way of making you feel that whatever you're doing is crucially important to patient care, to the profession of pharmacy, even to the greater good. He has this way of re-energizing you and inspiring you when it would be easier to just kind of go about your day or stick with the status quo. I'm trying to really channel that energy whenever I've personally felt stuck, and for that I'll be forever grateful.
DZ's contributions to the profession of pharmacy are probably too numerous to state in a minute. I think that one remarkable thing is he has remained relevant for over 50 years. He has inspired hundreds of students and residents and future pharmacy leaders. He really has a gift for creating connections. His terms as ASHP treasurer laid the groundwork for a very financially stable organization and a really clear pathway to our future.
DZ means so much to the profession. He is a pioneer in pharmacy practice, which thoughts, ideals, and ways directly led to the profession's advancement. When I think about the many discussions with him, it's always evident that he is willing and wanting to share a core value system that he established and helped many of us establish. The importance of building trust with colleagues and physicians, what it means to be a valued patient care team member, the importance of being accountable, accessible, and most importantly, assertive when representing all areas of pharmacy practice. I even remember a time as a pharmacy resident where we were talking about some of these ideas and values and how to translate them into practice. And I actually ended up ghostwriting an article for DZ. The article was called 365 24/7. I believe it's something along those lines that really described on how student experiences should evolve outside of the typical 8 to 4:30 time period, because that's what aligned with the patient's needs. And that these 8 to 4:30 rotations were not necessarily reflective of what was needed by our patients, nor current practice. I guess this highlights another really special characteristics about DZ. He has this way of lighting the fire on your passions. He's always so in tune of what you care about and what you value, both professionally and personally. And for that, I will always cherish my time with him.
When I was a resident, first year resident, and I had come with very little experience in health system pharmacy, and there's plenty of opportunity to sort of give up on me as a resident. And he didn't. I had a particularly difficult rotation in the Drug Information and Poison Center, and had to have a crucial conversation with Dave Zilz and Tom Thielke, and I think at that point it would have been relatively easy for him to sort of give up on me and move along. He didn't do that. I think he saw in me that I didn't always think the way that everybody else thought, and he saw it in himself to try to build on that and find a path for me as a health system leader. So that's my favorite story.
I'm really pleased to be able to contribute to this recognition of DZ. And my connection to DZ goes all the way back to my time as an administrative and master's resident at the University of Minnesota and United in Children's Hospital in St. Paul. Yeah, I kind of like to think of DZ as my residency grandfather. My director at United, Jim Herrick, was one of DZ's residents at University of Wisconsin. So Jim made sure that as residents, we all had exposure to and the opportunity to meet and work with the leadership at the University of Wisconsin. And I've been really lucky to be able to maintain that relationship with DZ ever since. You know, thinking about what makes DZ so special, I could probably go on, all day on that particular topic, but since we're limited and these are supposed to be focus sessions, I'll really talk about 3 areas that I think make DZ the special person that he really is. And first, I think he has a genuine interest in others. Second, his innovation and commitment to pharmacy is unparalleled. And third, his desire to really keep learning is amazing. In terms of his genuine interest in others, whether you're a first-year resident or you're the CEO of a major health network, when DZ is speaking to you, you have his undivided full attention, and whatever you have to say is of particular relevance to him. That was kind of driven home to me, I think, when I was in my first director's job at St. Margaret in Hammond, Indiana. And I was a relative nobody, a young director of pharmacy, hadn't really attained it or accomplished much at that point, brand new. And DZ was one of the movers and shakers in the profession. And he, along with a number of other people, Tom Filke, Billy Woodward, were creating the first professional advisory board for the McKesson Corporation. And for whatever reason, DZ invited me to participate on that board. And he treated me the same as he treated everybody else on that board, and he expected the same out of me as he did everybody else on that board. But what a unique and great experience for a young leader to have that opportunity and be treated like that by DZ. I think second, innovation and commitment to pharmacy is phenomenal. The definition of innovation is to be able to recognize something unique in one area and then to be able to adapt it and apply it to another area. And DZ is always looking for new ideas and new opportunities outside the profession of pharmacy and thinking about how he can adapt those and use those ideas to improve the profession of pharmacy. And I think that's linked very closely to the third item, and that's a desire to always keep learning. I get several great articles a month sent to me by DZ from outside the pharmacy literature, and he regularly challenges me with what-if scenarios. I'm really lucky that DZ has had agreed to serve on the VSANT board of directors, and when his term ended, he agreed to also continue in a special advisor to the board role. So I get to still work with DZ on a semi-regular basis. And I can always tell when he's had some serious windshield time driving his logging truck, because he has a list of topics and ideas ready to go for discussion. And those are always really fun sessions. I think in summary, DZ is an individual that always thinks about the best, he works for the best, and he expects the best. But while he does that, I think he's as enthusiastic about the success of others as he is about his own success. And he is certainly someone that I've always paid attention to and tried to emulate as much as possible over the years. And I'm really very thankful for the connection to DZ and honored to be part of this recognition. So thank you, and looking forward to many more years of connection to DZ.